All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So today we're diving into something pretty fascinating. You've brought a whole bunch of material on the Mountain Pass rare earth mine in California,
Yeah.
and it's this story about this mine that went from like an accidental discovery during the Cold War
Mm.
all the way to becoming like a global supplier of these elements that are absolutely essential for, so many things that we use today, from our smartphones to, all kinds of advanced technology. And it's a pretty remarkable story.
It is. It is. And it starts somewhat accidentally
Hmm.
in 1949,
Okay.
although there was gold mining in the area earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, going all the way back to 1936.
Wow.
But is in 49 when prospectors were out looking for uranium
Oh, wow.
during the Cold War.
Uh-huh.
And with their Geiger counters near the Nevada border,
Uh-huh.
they detected high radioactivity.
Okay.
But instead of being uranium, it turned out to be from a mineral called bastnasite.
Bastnasite. So now, for those of us less familiar, what makes bastnasite so important?
Well, bastnasite is a key ore because it contains a high concentration of rare earth elements.
Yeah.
And when we say rare earth elements, we're talking about these 17 elements with unique magnetic and catalytic properties,
Hmm.
and they're indispensable in small quantities for making a variety of technologies.
Yeah.
Everything from smartphone screens to wind turbines to even advanced defense systems.
Wow. So, Molycorp, or the Molybdenum Corporation of America,
Mm-hmm.
they quickly realized the potential of this discovery
Right.
and acquired the mining claims by 1950.
That's right. Yeah.
And so they started small scale production in 52, but what really fueled their growth? Like, how did they go from this small scale production to, this major player?
Well, the 1960s saw a major expansion of the mine, fueled by the demand for europium.
Okay.
And europium was crucial for producing the red color in the new color television screens.
Oh, wow.
And this period from about 1965 to 1995 became known as the Mountain Pass era, when Mountain Pass was really the dominant global supplier of rare earth metals.
The dominant global supplier. That's
Yeah.
incredible. And so, like, we're talking about a 50-acre open pit mine,
Right.
a 14-mile pipeline to move wastewater. That's a huge scale.
It is a huge scale.
And so that also must have presented some challenges in terms of managing the byproducts and the environmental impacts.
Absolutely. And that, brings us to the 1990s, really a turning point for the mine.
Okay.
You start to see cheaper competition popping up, particularly from China.
Okay.
And at the same time, Mountain Pass was facing increasing scrutiny over environmental concerns, particularly related to this wastewater pipeline.
And what were the main concerns with the pipeline?
Well, so the ore at Mountain Pass, naturally contains radioactive elements like thorium and radium. And despite efforts to manage this, the pipeline, over time experienced numerous spills.
Wow.
An estimated 60 spills between 1984 and 1998,
Wow.
releasing hundreds of thousands of gallons of waste.
Oh, wow. So that must have been a major issue.
It was. It led to lawsuits. It led to fines. And eventually, in 1998, the separation plant at the mine was shut down.
Okay.
And then the entire mine closed in 2002.
So it went from this dominant global supplier to completely close down in the span of, just a few years.
Yeah.
So we talked about China coming online and being a cheaper supplier. What were some of the strategic advantages that allowed them to, capture so much of that market share?
Well, beyond the lower production costs, China initially had less stringent environmental regulations. And they also received significant state support
Yeah.
to develop their rare earth element production and processing capabilities.
Yeah.
And so all of this really allowed them to rapidly scale up their production.
Okay.
And by 2009, they controlled over 96% of the global supply.
Wow. So essentially a near monopoly on the market.
Yeah, that's
But then there were these attempts to revive the mine.
right.
So Chevron acquired Unocal, which had previously owned the mine, and then they sold it in 2008 to a company called Molycorp Minerals LLC.
Hmm.
And they launched this, ambitious project called Project Phoenix, where they invested over $1.5 billion to revive the mine.
Yep.
And mining actually restarted in 2012, with this new new processing plant that was supposed to have, better environmental practices.
That's right. Yeah, they had a new facility called the chlor-alkali facility.
Mm.
That was a key part of this revival attempt, and it was designed to recycle wastewater
Mm.
to really try to reduce the environmental impact of the mine.
That's great. So it seemed like, they were really making progress.
Yeah.
But what happened? Why didn't that work out?
Well, despite the investment in the new technology, they still faced some really tough challenges.
Yeah.
Both technical challenges at the mine itself and continued price competition from China.
Okay.
And so in 2015, Molycorp filed for bankruptcy,
Wow.
and operations at the mine were again suspended.
So it seems like, it was a really, really tough market to compete in.
It was.
But then in 2017, MP Materials acquired the mine,
Hmm.
and they restarted mining very quickly.
Right.
By late 2017, and then by January of 2018, they had refining operations back online.
Yep.
And by 2022, they were producing a pretty significant portion of the global output of rare earth elements.
They were.
And their goal is actually to create a fully domestic supply chain.
Mhm.
They're even building a magnet factory in Texas. So it seems like they're really, taking this challenge seriously.
They are, and creating that integrated supply chain is really crucial. Historically, relying on sending materials overseas for processing has been a major vulnerability.
Yeah.
MP Materials has also stated a commitment to being a zero discharge facility with on-site recycling and other practices to address those past environmental concerns.
Okay.
And the fact that the U.S. Department of Defense is awarding them contracts really signals the strategic importance of this work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering where things stood, just a decade ago, MP Materials resurgence is pretty incredible.
It is.
And it's a really important development, for national security, for economic stability.
It is. And, it kind of raises a fascinating point, this story of Mountain Pass, from this unexpected radioactive reading to being a really vital part of the global technology supply chain. It really highlights how quickly our sense of what is a strategic resource, how quickly that can shift.
Right.
And so it makes you wonder, what other seemingly ordinary places or overlooked materials might hold, similar unforeseen significance in our future.
Yeah. Well, that's something for all of us to think about.
Absolutely.
And with that, that's another deep dive complete. I'll see you next time.